Okay, it's 10:30, time for our community development block grant hearing. We'll turn it over to Jill Griffin.
Thank you. I'm going to start by sending around a sign-in sheet. You want me to start out
Yeah.
here? So if you could all just sign in for me and then pass it along, I'd appreciate it. Here's a copy of it. Since Holly's not here, if one of you can sign after on the back of the sheet whenever we're complete, I would appreciate it. The Ohio Development Services Agency's Office of Community Development annually receives funding from the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development, in which there must be a planning process that includes citizen participation prior to receiving and distributing the funds. Of the programs under this opportunity, today I'm focusing on the Community Development or CDBG program. National and state objectives of the program include benefit to low to moderate income or LMI persons, area benefit, for example, water lines, road construction. At least 51% of households in the defined area must be low or moderate income. Example, below 80% of area income, median income. Limited clientele, heating and cooling units in a senior center apartment complex. Examples of limited clientele groups are abused children, elderly persons, battered spouses, homeless persons, handicapped persons, migrant farm workers, and illiterates. Housing, for example, private rehab. Households must be determined income eligible for direct assistance activities such as rehabilitation. Job creation retention, 51% of jobs created are LMI. Objective number 2 is elimination of slum and blight, area slum and blight, and spot slum and blight. The statewide CDBG programs include Community Housing Improvement Program, or the CHIP program, Community Development Program, Economic Development and Public Infrastructure Program, Discretionary Grant Program, New Horizons Fair Housing Assistance Program, Training and Technical Assistance Funds, along with state level administration. The CDBG program can fund a broad range of activities, including economic development, street, water supply, drainage and sanitary sewer improvements, park acquisition and improvements, demolition of unsafe structures, rehabilitation of housing, and neighborhood facilities. The county may be eligible for approximately $114,000. The official figures have not yet been released, but are anticipated around March 31st of this year. The city of Fostoria is no longer a direct grantee for the community development allocations, but will be included under the Seneca County funding umbrella again for this current fiscal year 2014. The county is required to have at least one Fostoria project for each of the next 2 years. The county is also eligible to additionally apply for 2 of 3 competitive community development programs. The Neighborhood Revitalization Program, which would improve specific neighborhoods, and the Critical Infrastructure Program improvements are to alleviate health and safety hazards. The third competitive community development program is the Downtown Revitalization Program, which would focus on the downtown business district. This additional CDBG funding could total approximately $600,000, may be supplemented with other grants, and may also be combined with the city CDBG funding. A community must also meet the LMI criteria. If a community doesn't meet the LMI criteria, the community feels that the census data doesn't give a true picture of the demographics of their community, we can do a confidential income survey, and that will be done to show the current demographics then. The survey must also be done in a manner put forth by the state, and surveyors must complete a form stating they have abided by all the guidelines of the Ohio Development Services Agency. Last year, Seneca County received $114,000 in allocation funds, with a portion of that to be spent in Fostoria. Applications are due for the county's program in the Seneca Regional Planning Commission office by 4 p.m. Friday, April 18th. That's the pre-applications that we send out to all the constituents. And then the second public hearing will be held in early June here at the Commissioner's office. At this public hearing, the Commissioners will announce a summary of the proposed activities before they are submitted to the state for approval. The grant application is due to the Office of Community Development by approximately June 20th, 2014. So at this time then, I can open it up to any questions that anyone may have.
So by April 18th, the projects have to be submitted to you? Okay. And then I like the idea of kind of hashing that out as a group. I know before, years past, we filled out little things and
Yeah.
we ranked them and so on, but I think last year, didn't we just get together as a group and kind of hash it out? That seemed to be a little
Okay.
more productive and open and.
Would you like me to compile them, send them over, and then come and
Yeah,
meet?
yeah,
So
I'd like
that
to
way
look
you
at 'em
can look
first.
at
Sure,
them and
sure.
get a feel for them, and then, okay.
How much did Fostoria get when they were able to apply for them themselves?
That I don't know. I think, I can't say for a fact because I don't know.
Is it,
for a fact.
where do they come up with 114,000? Is that based on population?
They have a formula where they determine it, and I know that the previous year, 2012's allocation funding the county got on their own was 89,000, and that year you were required to use 39,000 of the revolving loan funds in addition to that 89,000 from the state. Last year, then it increased a little bit because Fostoria came in under the county umbrella. So then now you're required to have one project in Fostoria
So
for
last year was the first year that Fostoria
Yes.
was incorporated. Prior to that, they were standalone.
yes,
And that was not their choice, that was the state's.
Yeah.
that's right.
I'm just curious how much
primarily
money they
it's a
received.
population
Pardon?
because of the population numbers. That's why.
Declining.
And I think we need to apply some of our programs as well. We don't have to award them to ourselves, but we want them in there in case nobody else applies or the others aren't very good or whatever. What were some of them we applied for last time and didn't fund? There was a parking lot.
There's some parking lots. I know we discussed maybe some ADA stuff at the CSB building.
That elevator, yes, Dean wanted to redo that. That elevator had been breaking down on us.
Oh, it's costing us a fortune
Yeah.
Yeah,
on maintaining that darn thing.
and he brought it to my attention that not Hancock County, Sandusky County used some grant money to do it, and I looked into it, it was block grant money. So maybe we ought to apply for replacing that elevator.
Yeah, he's supposed to be giving us some quotes on
Okay.
that, but
Okay.
That would be a good one, because that's just gonna continue to be a drain on the
Agree,
budget, and
I
people
agree.
get upset because the elevator's down.
Okay.
So let's be sure we get, between the two of you, be sure we get
Yes.
those projects in there, so we've got something of ours in the mix.
Okay.
I think JFS, aren't they taking some of their funds and they're gonna blacktop their parking lot out there this year?
I think so.
Yeah, and that was part of this, and we didn't award them on the CDBG thing, so they end up taking some of their own funds to take care of it.
They were listed as alternate projects, but because we didn't use any of the county's alternate projects, those were not funded through that block grant this
All the
last year.
primary projects made the
Yes.
grade.
Bloomville is making a few changes to theirs because the state, ODOT, is coming in and doing some improvements to some of the areas that they were looking at using the funding from block grant for. So I'm working between them and the state, and we're coming up with their changes so that we can determine where it's at and make sure that we still continue with the project there and the funding the way it was laid out,
Yeah,
so,
good, good. Bloomville, Bettsville, and Fostoria, got it.
yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Do we solicit the trustees and the
Yes.
villages?
They all receive, we send out the application, the pre-application.
Okay,
And we
so-
send it out to all of those people.
So then they feed back to us. We then evaluate after this whole bucket
Yes.
of requests come back in, and which one we think is the most,
Yeah.
in the most need, and then that's where the process starts, is they
Yes.
feed information back to us.
Right,
Okay,
yeah.
I think that's good.
And with the city of Fostoria having, the county having a requirement to have a project in Fostoria, if you go with the neighborhood revitalization grant, like, that's one of the competitive set-asides, and that is funded, that's your Fostoria project. You don't
Okay.
need, you're not required to have block grant, an additional block grant project.
Right, right.
If, however, you go for that, it's not funded, you still have to have an alternate backup for the city of Fostoria.
And we are going for it, but we just don't, will we know if it's funded by this next public hearing?
No, because that goes in along with the block grant application in June.
Okay, okay,
And then they typically let us know by September, October, I think, whether or not they're funded.
okay. All right. Any questions from the public or comments? This is a public hearing, so any comments?
The parking lots, I remember we talked about the parking lots, were they excluded? I'm trying to remember, you were working with the state, because they said that because we couldn't verify the percentage of
Yes. We would-
public employees parking in that area, so,
And one of the ways to determine the LMI population is to stand at the door and every single person that comes in, take a survey. But then you also have to weigh in your number of employees that are using those parking lots, and sometimes that offsets your LMI. It depends on what your ratios are. If they have a large number that they're serving of the LMI
yeah.
population, it could.
Would that be the same with the elevator,
Well, 2 years ago, we did a
Yeah, we did.
project, it was the HVAC.
Oh, HVAC,
And we
okay.
were able to, I don't know if the state guidelines have changed a little bit since then. I will talk to the state
Okay.
to find out if that is something that we can look at doing again, since we did do it.
Well, it's
Okay.
handicap accessible too,
Yes.
so
Yeah.
it qualifies under that
You
category.
mean, you would take a survey as people walk in the door, you ask them how much money they make?
To fill out the survey form.
That's all.
So that you
I
can
bet you that's
prove.
received overwhelmingly.
Yeah, I guess we probably wanna forget the parking lots, cause
Yeah.
we're gonna bid this one real soon over here.
Yep.
And Job and Family's kinda on the way too.
Yep,
The other thing we had talked about in board, and some time ago, was that wall over there, we did the fix on it, and if that wasn't holding, we were gonna apply for this for more of a permanent, remember the?
Yeah, I think that, I
You think
haven't
it's
looked at it
looking good?
lately.
I
but-
haven't either.
I haven't looked at it.
I guess we'd know if it was failing, somebody would say something.
Yeah, I personally think that that's,
That's gonna do the
yeah,
job.
yeah.
Well, let's apply for the elevator at least.
Okay.
I don't know how much that costs.
Yeah, they were supposed to get us a quote on that, so.
How much money did we spend a year to fix that elevator? I mean, it seems
Oh,
like
last year was crazy.
every other week it's broken down and they got technicians come in. I would imagine it's gotta be
Yeah,
$10, $15, $20,000 that
Oh,
we're
yeah.
paying that.
and now, we do have a new company that's coming in, that seems to be a little bit quicker, a little bit, they fixed the RTA elevator,
Oh.
and we've had nothing but compliments on that elevator, cause it always used to
Jerk.
shake and jerk and,
Make a banging
This-
sound.
yes.
And
Yeah.
it doesn't.
and this new company came in and said, oh no, they weren't even looking in the right area.
Uh-huh.
They repacked something and greased something, and it's been smooth ever since, so,
Okay. The one over there, the CSB, is just an antique. It's
yes,
just-
yeah,
That's the problem with that.
yeah. Electrical issues and.
They have much simpler now for stories. They just use hydraulics, like a big cylinder.
Okay. Okay. All
Yeah,
right.
we'll
Can't
get quotes on
elevator.
that. Yeah,
Yes, ma'am.
Any possibility of coming up with a project for the entryway to the Board of Elections area? Handicap, different doors, whatever. I'm just thinking out loud.
I think that would be a possibility. Again, it would fall under that, isn't there one that's for handicap? Or would that be limited clientele? Is that what
Yes.
that would fall under?
Yes, it
Okay,
would be.
okay. Yeah, I don't see why we
Good point,
could
that
apply. That would be a cheap one, in case you needed a few $1,000 fill-in.
Okay.
Anything else? Do you want us to just close the hearing? then?
Yes, please.
Okay. We will close the hearing then at 10:45. Thank you all for coming.
What did you want us to sign Holly's or what?
One of you.
Since you're
it-
vice chair, maybe you ought to just sign yours and give it back to...
Just sign that last
Oh,
page
okay.
of yours. Thank you. That's just what I keep for the documentation in the file.
I guess we need to adjourn then, if there's nothing else. Is there a motion to adjourn?
I make a motion, adjourn.
Okay, we're adjourned at 10:45.
Send over a resolution.